There's a cardboard box on the bottom shelf of my pantry with about $1 worth of white crystals in it. It was on that shelf before my knees went. It'll be on that shelf after I'm gone. And there is no date printed anywhere on it because there is nothing in it that can go bad. 13 things in your grocery store are like that. Not lasts a good while. Not Best Buy. 13 things that will still feed somebody long after everybody who bought them quit worrying about it. Most of them are under $4. My name is Walt Harlan. I ran emergency management in a rural Mississippi county for 31 years, and I have stood in the one grocery store in town on day 2 and looked at what was left on the shelves. I've never eaten a bucket of 30-year freeze-dried food, and I don't intend to. Nobody pays me to sell you anything. I'm retired. 13. Worst to best, and number 1 is whatever's in that box on my shelf. Now, 4 of these are already in your kitchen right now. Every pantry I ever walked into had them. It's the other 9 that decided how the second week went. Stay with me. 13. Canned fruits and vegetables. Green beans, corn, peaches, tomatoes, $1 a can. Vitamins you cannot get out of a bag of rice, and the liquid inside is drinkable water you already paid for. Here's the split nobody tells you about, and it's the whole ball game. Acid. High acid cans. Tomatoes, citrus, pineapple, anything in tomato sauce. The acid works on the lining from the inside, year after year. Those are a 2-year item no matter what the outside says. Low acid, green beans, corn, carrots, potatoes hold for years past the date. So buy the low acid deep and the tomatoes shallow and rotate the tomatoes through your kitchen. And when you open one, don't pour the liquid down the drain. In a dry spell, that's water with the vitamins already in it. That's the shortest clock on this list. Number 12 is the same metal can with a different problem, and it's the only thing here that can actually hurt you. 12. Canned meat. Canned chicken, tuna, ham, the blue tin of pork. $2 or $3. Already cooked, no water, no fire. You open it and there's a meal. The date stamped on it is a quality date, not a safety date. Kept cool, commercially canned meat is generally good a long way past it. But a can is not forever, and hear this part carefully. Rust at the rim, a dent on the seam where the metal folds, and above all, a lid that bulges. Bulging means gas, and gas means something in there is alive. You don't open it, you don't smell it, you don't taste it. It goes in the trash. Store them cool and up off a concrete floor. Concrete sweats and rusts out the bottoms. Oldest to the front, and write the month on the lid with a marker. That's the protein you don't have to cook. Number 11 you can eat with no fire at all, and it's carrying a clock nobody mentions. 11. Rolled oats. The big round canister of old-fashioned rolled oats. $4. Breakfast, and one of the few things here you can eat without cooking if it comes to that. Cold water and thyme will soften them. But oats have oil in them. Not much, less than brown rice, but it's there. And oil is a clock. Left in that cardboard canister in a pantry that hits 90 degrees every August, you've got maybe 2 years before they start tasting like a paint can. Instant oats are worse. The flavor packets bring in fat and sugar that clump and turn. Plain rolled oats, Mylar, oxygen absorber, somewhere cool and dark, 25 to 30 years. Left in the canister they came in, 2. Same oat, same store, different answer entirely. Same oat, different answer, and number 10 is the one on this list people buy wrong more than any other. 10. Powdered milk, non-fat dry milk, protein, calcium, and it turns water into something a child will actually drink. And it's the easiest thing on this list to buy wrong. Whole milk powder does not store. The butterfat goes rancid in a year, maybe 2. Both bags say milk. Both sit on the same shelf. And one is a 20-year food and the other is not. Milk powder is also thirsty. It pulls moisture straight out of humid air, and a paper box in a Mississippi summer is a lost cause by itself. Non-fat only. Mylar, oxygen absorber, cool and dark. 20 years and better. And here's why it sits up this high. When there's no refrigeration for 100 miles, this is how a child in your house gets calcium. That's the calcium. Number 9 is the cheapest real protein in the store, and it charges you for it in firewood. 9. Dried beans. Pound bag of pinto or black beans, $1.50. Protein, fiber, and enough calories to matter. The cheapest real nutrition in the entire building. Now the part nobody puts in these videos. Beans stay safe and nourishing essentially forever, but they don't stay soft. Every year the seed coat hardens a little more. A bean that took an hour when you bought it can take 4 hours of hard boiling at year 10. And 4 hours of boiling means water and fuel, the exact 2 things you have least of when you're finally eating stored beans. So beans are the one item here I'd actually rotate. Eat them, buy more. Store a pressure cooker beside them. It cuts that time to a fraction. Soak overnight, always, and a pinch of baking soda helps an old bean give up. Beans are the workhorse. Number 8 is the easiest thing on this list to store, the easiest to ruin, and it comes home with a passenger. 8. Pasta and noodles. Boxes of dry pasta, $1.50. Semolina and water, nothing else. And dry means nothing can grow. 2 catches, and both get people. Egg noodles have fat in them, a 2-year product wearing a 30-year coat. Same for whole wheat pasta, which is brown rice's cousin and goes rancid the same way. Then there are pantry malls. They arrive inside the cardboard, from the store, already there. Nobody believes me until they open a cabinet 2 years later and find webbing in the flour, the oats, the cornmeal, from one box of spaghetti. Plain semolina only. Out of the cardboard, into a sealed container the day it comes home. And if you want to be sure about the malls, freeze the box 3 days first. That kills anything that hitched a ride. That's your carbohydrates handled. Number 7 is the one everybody already owns, and most of them own the wrong bag. 7. White rice. 20-pound bag of long-grain white rice, $10 or $12. Nothing in the store gives you more calories per dollar, and stored properly, it's been eaten after 30 years with no loss you'd notice. But here's where good intentions cost people. Brown rice will not do this. Brown rice keeps the bran. The bran holds oil, and oil goes rancid. 6 months in a warm pantry, maybe a year. I've watched families buy the healthier bag, feel good about it, and store a clock instead of a food. And the paper sack is an open invitation to weevils that came home already inside it. So, white rice, Mylar bag, oxygen absorber, food-grade bucket. $6 of packaging protecting $100 of food. It's the floor the rest of your pantry stands on. Now, I've said never 7 times, and I owe you a correction. Not one of those 7 is food that never expires. It's food plus a container that never expires. Take those oats out of the Mylar, and you've got a 2-year product with a 30-year reputation. Leave the rice in the paper sack, and the weevils will beat the clock by 29 years. The 6 that are left are a different animal. One of them needs a tool. One of them isn't really food at all. And the last 4 don't need one single thing from you. 6. Hard red winter wheat berries. Whole wheat kernels. Not flour, the actual grain off the field. $30 for a 50-pound bag. And that bag is bred for a long, long time. Flour is the trap. The minute you grind wheat, you break the kernel open, expose the oil, and start a clock that runs out inside a year. Whole berries sealed with oxygen absorbers have been eaten after 30 years and made good bread. But you cannot eat a wheat berry. You need a grinder, and with the power out, a hand grinder. $50 to $150 nobody wants to spend on a thing they hope never to use. So here's the shortest advice in this video. Buy the grinder the same day you buy the wheat, or don't buy the wheat. I have stood in basements looking at 50 pounds of perfect grain and nothing in the house that could turn it into supper. And number 5 isn't really food at all. 5. Alcohol. Sealed distilled spirits, vodka, whiskey, rum, anything 40% and up. Unopened in a dark closet, it does not change. Not in 10 years, not in 50. But people hear that and stockpile the wrong thing. Beer is a months to a year product. Wine has a window, then turns to vinegar on you. A case of beer in the garage isn't a stockpile, it's a weekend. It isn't on this list for drinking. It's here because in every long emergency I worked, a sealed bottle was one of the few things everybody would trade for, and because it's how you make vanilla extract and tinctures that also never go bad. 1 or 2 bottles, back of the closet, forgotten about. It's the only item here with a shelf life you'd measure in centuries. That's the last one on this list with a catch in it. From here down, there are no catches at all. 4. White distilled vinegar. Gallon jug of plain white vinegar, 5% acidity. $3, bottom shelf, every store in America. People pour it out when it goes cloudy or when they spot stringy sediment in the bottom. That sediment has a name. It's called mother. It's harmless. Strain it or ignore it. Here's what folks miss. Vinegar is already too acidic for anything to grow in. It can't spoil for the same reason it keeps other food from spoiling. 1 jug does 3 jobs in a long emergency. It's food. It's how you pickle and keep vegetables with no refrigeration. And it's your cleaner when you don't have water to spare for washing. $3, 3 problems, and it will outlive the jug it came in. $3, 3 jobs. Number 3 has had about 3,000 years to prove the same point. 3. Honey. They have found honey in Egyptian tombs, sealed in jars, thousands of years old, and it was still honey. And people still throw it out. It goes cloudy and grainy, and they figure it's turned. It hasn't. That's crystallization, sugar coming out of solution, which is what something that concentrated is supposed to do. Set the jar in warm water and it comes right back clear. 1 hard rule, and storage doesn't change it. Never give honey to a baby under a year old. Not a taste, not on a pacifier. There are spores in it a grown body handles fine and an infant's cannot. True of the freshest jar in the store, true of yours in 30 years. Otherwise, glass jar, dark cupboard, done. Calories, sweetener. And folks have put it on scrapes and burns for as long as there have been folks. That's the sweet one that can't spoil. Number 2 can't either, and people throw it out every single year believing it did. 2. Sugar. 4-pound bag of white granulated, $2. Pure carbohydrate, pure energy, and it cannot spoil. I mean that literally. Nothing can live in sugar. It pulls the water straight out of anything that tries. That isn't a trick somebody invented. That is the principle behind jam and jelly. But every year people find a rock-hard lump in the back of the cabinet and throw it out. Hard is not spoiled. Hard is dry. The real enemy is the paper bag it came in. Moisture gets in, ants get in. So the day you bring it home, it goes into a sealed bucket. If it sets up hard anyway, a slice of bread in with it overnight softens it right back. Sugar is calories that don't die, and it's how you put up fruit when the power's off. Which brings me to the box on my shelf. 1. Salt. It's salt. Plain salt in a cardboard box, $1 and change for 4 pounds. And it's the only thing on this list with no shelf life at all because it was never alive to begin with. It's a rock. It was in the ground before there were people to dig it up. Rocks don't spoil. 2 ways people ruin it anyway. They buy iodized, and the iodine breaks down in about 5 years. The salt's still fine, but the label stops being true. And they leave it in cardboard in a damp garage where it pulls water out of the air and turns into a brick you have to go at with a hammer. So, plain canning or pickling salt into a jar or a bucket with a gasket lid, and you are done thinking about it for the rest of your life. And understand what you're actually storing. Salt is how people kept meat without electricity for 4,000 years. It isn't seasoning, it's a preservation system. And it's the one thing here your body will start genuinely craving if you run out. $1. Number 1. 13. And here's the thing I most want you to carry out of this. The pantries I walked into that failed people were not empty. They were full. Rice and pasta and green beans stacked 4 deep. The same 4 things over and over because those are the 4 everybody thinks of. What wasn't in there was fat, protein, calcium, anything a child would still eat on the 4th day. A family can stand in a room surrounded by calories and still be coming apart. That's why the powdered milk and the canned meat and the beans sit right alongside the salt. Not because they last longest, because they're what turns everything else into supper. And nearly all of it is under $4 an item. This isn't a bunker. It's 1 trip to the store and 1 afternoon with a marker and some buckets. Every family I ever sat with knew what was in their pantry. That was never the problem. They just hadn't got around to filling the holes in it. Here's what I want you to do Saturday. Go stand in your pantry with a marker and a piece of paper and write down which of the 13 you already own. You'll have more than you think. Most folks have 5 or 6 without ever trying. Then circle the ones you don't have and buy 3 of them this week. Not 13, 3. And while you're standing in there, write the month on the top of every can you own. 10 minutes and you'll never squint at a code again. Then come tell me in the comments, how many of the 13 did you already have in the house? And which 3 did you circle? I read every single one of these. The stories you send back are the reason I keep recording.